everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Making a Difference in Mental Health. I'm Danielle.
I'm Wendy.
And I finally have Wendy here back in the studio with me. I'm so excited to have you back, Wendy.
Well, thank you, Danielle. I've been gone for 2 weeks, kind of traveling outside the office, but it's nice to be back in our cozy podcast space.
Yes, I mean, it's been a little bit different with Wendy not physically being here, but you've appeared for episode virtually. But it's so good to just have you back, right?
Right,
to have
absolutely.
you back.
It's different virtually, but I'm glad to be back. Thank you.
And so, Wendy, can you tell our audience, what is our topic for today?
So we're going to talk about social media and the impact it has on mental health. We talked about this topic in season 2. We touched upon it. We had some guests on the podcast to just kind of delve into it a little bit surface wise, but social media has been in the news. It's on everybody's mind. You know about what's going on with TikTok, Facebook. And so we as mental health professionals, want to shed some light on it too, from our perspective and what we see with the clients that we serve, the youth that we serve. So we're going to air a series, part 1 and part 2. So part 1 is going to happen today, and we're going to be showing you
some of the conversation that we had here at Advanced Behavioral Health through our Listen Up Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging platform. And so this was actually a presentation, the impact of social media on mental health, that I was able to present. And the conversation and discussion was so good that we wanted to bring it to the podcast.
Right.
So what you all are going to see today is just a few snippets of that full-on hour-long presentation in part 1 and part 2. And we're going to come back and have some further discussion about the impact of social media on mental health. So right now, sit back, relax, enjoy part 1, and come back because we're going to have a little discussion about it.
We'll see you on the other side.
All right, everyone. Welcome to our Listen Up series, our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging series. This is the impact of social media on mental health. Specifically, we're going to be looking at adolescents and young adults. So the first portion of our agenda, we're going to be doing an icebreaker called What Are Those? Because that's like a social media tagline, maybe from a few years ago. We're going to look at some stats. We're going to look at challenges when it comes to social media. We're going to look at the positive impacts of social media and things that may impact our clients and what can be done. Okay. All right. So our icebreaker for today, we have 2. What are those? If you can take about 30 seconds to try and guess, now this might date either me or you, but if you can try to guess what these social media icons are, I'd love for you to take 30 seconds. And when you are done, raise your hand. I have my computer on my right-hand side, and I'll look to see who is done. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and give the answers, or you know what, can somebody maybe shout out, maybe one person shout out at least what you think one or more of these might be.
AOL and Yahoo.
Okay,
I was going to say Yahoo.
I heard AOL, Yahoo. Say it again.
AOL and Yahoo, the second and fourth.
Yes, that's correct. Does anybody know the first and the third?
MySpace.
Okay, Mike, MySpace. What about the third? Okay.
Is that Black Planet? I don't remember though, the
Black
logo.
Planet, Nakia, yes. It's Black Planet. Okay, so these are the social media beginnings. I will say that during my research, social media, the first ever or first coined social media site was called 6 Degrees. I don't know what that is or where it happened to be, but that started in 1997. And what happened is 7 years later, Facebook came around and Facebook became the prototype for all social media, specifically when it comes to interaction. So this is old school. Now get ready for the next screen because let's see here. I'm going to give you 1 minute to try to figure out all these icons, and then I'll give you the answers. But try to figure out as many as you can. And then I just want you all to shout out what you hear, what you see, what you know, maybe if we have used them, if you have children that use them, or if you have clients that use them. But your 1 minute starts now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the time now. I think we're a little bit under a minute, but for the sake of time, I do have a lot of information, surprisingly, on the impacts of social media. So can someone shout out what you know?
Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn.
Come on, Jasmine.
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Okay.
That one could be Tinder, the fire.
Tinder.
Okay. And then
Spotify.
Spotify.
Yep.
Is that Venmo?
Venmo. Yep.
And then there's Reddit.
Snapchat. Come on, y'all. Okay.
There's also Skype, Discord,
Yes.
SoundCloud, Be Real.
Pretty much everyone got them right, which that doesn't date us too much. I'm glad that we're within that bracket where we do know between the 2010s to 2024. Now, the reality is that there are over 200 social media apps specifically for social interaction. Okay. So I want to give you all some statistics when it comes to social media and the impact on mental health. First, we're just going to start with the amount of children between the ages of, or teens between the ages of 13 to 17 from 2018. At that time, about 45% of teenagers between 13 and 17 were on their phones, computers, accessing social media almost all day, with 97% of all of those teenagers, and this was a study about 750 at that time, 97% were on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Now, 2018 was 6 years ago, and these were the top most popular social media apps then. Since then, we have 200 plus. Now, in 2023, this is as of 2023, 95% of all teenagers who have access to technology, all of them reportedly have access to a smartphone or some type of smart device where they're spending up to 7 to 8.5 hours a day on social media. I don't know how that's possible, but it's happening. 2.9 million monthly users for Facebook, and that is probably my generation and maybe my parents. But now TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat are the most used and highest ranked among our adolescents and teens, and that is as of 2022. Another research study in 2022 also reported that, and this is interesting, that lower income families and children of color have a higher increase of screen time. And later on, we can talk about some of the stats that we're reading when it comes to our time to share and talk when it comes to our clients. But just think about it. Over half of the surveyed adolescents and teens within even low income families and children of color, more than half are on social media using these particular platforms. And then generally, when it comes to teenage girls and teenage boys, teenage girls are on TikTok, Instagram, and Snapchat, while teenage boys are more likely on YouTube, Twitch, and Reddit. So when it comes to the challenges of physical health connected to social media, there are challenges with sleep disruption, which can lead to neurological development and challenges in the adolescent brain. When it comes to mental and emotional health, between the ages of 12 to 15, if adolescents spent 3 hours or more on social media, there was a double risk of development of mental health challenges, including depression and anxiety. Specifically, when it comes to what they're seeing, remember filters and all these ways that images are distorted. This happens to distort reality. It challenges self-image and body image, self-esteem, peer pressure, also harassment, cyberbullying, induced stress, also social anxiety, and then suicidal ideation. So the positive impacts. There is data to support that virtual support, online companionship, which also kind of leans into online dating apps too, if you have a positive experience. But healthy emotional intimacy connections can promote healthy socialization. More data suggests that the psychological development may benefit from online interactions, particularly during periods of social isolation. So the major example that the research says is COVID. So during the time of COVID, it was roughly about 2 years where we were isolated, where the term social distance or social distancing was coined. And so during that time, our kids weren't able to physically see each other, even us as adults. And this is another reason why we have this platform now where we're able to virtually see each other. Social media actually was a benefit in being able to connect all across the world via these types of platforms, Zoom, Teams, and other video chat platforms. These next two are very important when it comes to racial identity, racial and ethnic identity, as well as the LGBTQIA+ and questioning adolescents. Social media, for those who are within a marginalized group, it can serve as a buffer against the stressors that our youth may face because of their racial or ethnic background. Many social justice movements within the 2010s and the 2020s, the late 2010s, early 2020s, have expanded via social media on a local, national, and international level.
Okay, so we hope that you enjoyed just a little bit of that. That's part one. And we are going to go over some of the points. We do have our notes here. So we're going to look down, we're going to read some things, and we're just going to kind of have a little bit of a discussion of just the first part, the statistics, the challenges that we see with social media, and, you know, some of the positives, and just, you know, like some of our own thoughts about social media.
Right. So here's some stats just off the top. Most teenagers, about 95% of teenagers, are on social media.
Yeah.
Social media being TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and there's a whole host of other ones. But the one that's really popular right now is TikTok.
Yeah. And just as of this week, we are in March of 2024. There's talks of having TikTok banned in the US.
Right.
And it could honestly be a political thing. We are also in a political season. But this is a big deal because not only 95 to 97% of teenagers are on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, but it's also been reported, and we also saw a video within the presentation that they're on their social medias up to 7 to 8 hours a day. That is a lot.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think that's where the concern comes from mental health professionals, from parents, from educators, because that's a lot of time out of your day to be on your social media.
Right. And I'm wondering, you know, how is that possible for it to be 7 to 8 hours a day if we are excluding maybe education time,
but sleep time?
You know, you know, with some one of the young ladies in the video reported that sometimes she even uses it to fall asleep. And so I think maybe the conversation that we had, you might have brought it up, or someone else might have brought it up, about how we used to use the TV to kind of go to sleep.
That was
kind of
me.
A substitute. Okay.
Not me personally, but my child needed the noise, background noise, to fall asleep. And so she never really was up, you know, throughout the night looking at TV, but the background noise helped her.
Yeah. And, you know, I guess that makes a lot of sense because I think for myself, even, I will use the TV, and this maybe is my social media from my era. I'll use the TV as background noise or white noise, or even put a sleep timer on to fall asleep to the TV. But, you know, statistics also show that while Facebook, and I think I was one of the original people to get on Facebook. Again, like I said,
I don't know about
back
that.
in college. Well, I mean, at the time it was only called the Facebook. You could only get on if you were on a college campus or had a college email. But 2.9 million people are on Facebook now. But again, the teenagers, the biggest and most popular platforms are Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat.
Right. So that is their focus.
Yeah.
And so, the thought of using your phone that often for 7 to 8 hours just so you can access your social media. And I think we talked about it in season 2 about just the enticement of it all for teenagers to look for likes and positive feedback from their friends that are on their social media platforms.
And even more so, we do know statistically that there are more girls on TikTok and Snapchat, and sometimes, if we look at it from a mental health lens, this could go into the conversation about self-image and body image, and the guys are kind of on the YouTubes and the Twitches and all of the video gamer platforms. But I just find it all interesting.
Right. I think girls struggle with it more in terms of what you just said: body image, how they feel about themselves, their peer relationships, their health.
Yeah.
They're looking fat versus looking thin, looking fat. How does my face look? How does my makeup look? I mean, it's just so much pressure that it can cause.
Yeah, I mean, and I remember that too when I was young, of seeing a picture of myself. And now when I look at the picture of myself, from 20 years ago, I'm like, man, what was I thinking? I'm okay. And it's challenging for us to be able to then relay that to our young girls, about
filters.
That. Yeah, exactly. As we continue the conversation, we're talking about challenges of social media. And one of the major ones that isn't always so cool to talk about, social media is a cool thing. Facebook is cool. Instagram, that might be a little bit old because Facebook is like the original, but TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, they're cool to talk about. But some of the other things that are hard to talk about are the darker side of social media and the web. I mean, I remember participating in a training where we had a police officer come for a special unit to talk about how teenagers, between that same age, 13 to 17, yes, 95 to 97% have access to social media, but some of them actually fall into, either exposures, overexposures, indecent and inappropriate exposures. And so those are the hard conversations that we also need to have too, when it comes to the challenges of social media.
I mean, it's a great platform, unfortunately, for predators. And that's, when you get into the dark web and you get sucked into all that, and then, people are sharing photos that are, lots of times indecent photos that land on the dark web platform, and it just spirals.
Yeah. I mean, even with that, bullying, cyberbullying, cyber hate, or, these types of revenge situations are happening even in our middle schools. And I feel like there was a conversation, either in a different conversation or even our presentation, where one of our therapists said that one of their teachers said, "Oh, that stuff doesn't happen here at our school." Right. And the reality is
it
that
happens everywhere.
It happens everywhere. So, those are one of the challenges. And, we've talked about even, again, the mental health and the emotional challenges for girls, self-image,
eating, body image, all of that. And then, we always like to round it out with our favorite, sleep. It interferes with sleep. And it's a challenge because, again, teenagers and how teenagers work and their brain function, they, don't know how to just walk away from it.
Yeah.
They are in it and they get sucked in stories and likes and chats and things. And then it starts to interfere with their ability to get proper rest.
And then what we do also know too about sleep, the physiology of it, and just the development of the brain, and being able to have impulse control and controlling the emotional responses, to what you see on social media. So, we talked about like gamer rage and
especially if it's negative, right?
So you're reacting, or
you're down on social media,
or now you're tweeting someone something angry, and Twitter's in there too, tweeting someone or posting
X now.
Oh, X, right. we're in 2024. It's called X. Okay.
Twitter, aka X.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, those are the challenges. But yes, when it comes to sleep, just being able to get a good full 8 hours,
and not have your brain racing about all this stuff.
Right.
And I think that's what's going on with a lot of our youth.
Right. And imagine if one of the youth that we work with who spends 7 to 8 hours a day, on top of that, may be diagnosed with ADHD and needing time to calm down and having challenge with impulse control. So it's a big thing.
Yeah, it's a big recipe for a big challenge.
Yeah.
So we wanted to just, touch upon that piece of it, the dark side. So, but also we did say in the beginning, we were going to talk about positive.
Yep.
How is social media positively impacting mental health? So what comes to mind, a couple things. We're just coming out of the age of COVID. COVID's not gone, but at least, everyone has gotten back to their normal lives, if you can say new normal, I should say, lives, but interacting and socializing and, going out and all those good things that we as human beings need and love. And so, there was some comfort in social media during the times of COVID when we were isolated and we were frightened.
Right.
We were scared, people, the kids couldn't see their friends, adults couldn't connect either. And so over social media, it kind of substituted a sense of connection with people that you were friends with. You could catch up on, what they were doing. You could share stories. You could, check in with them on a daily basis. So between the COVID, isolation, and just Facebook in general. I'm a Facebooker. It's attached to my Instagram, I guess. I don't pay so much attention to it, but I like to, go on and I like to see what people are doing, like positive things, like people are doing with their kids, or, giving somebody a birthday shout out or an anniversary shout out, or, oh, you went to a really cool place on your vacation. That's the extent of my social media.
Right.
And I find that as I've gotten older, I don't look at it as much. Like, I get tired.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain that
it
one.
It might be a generation thing. I love that you hit on the point about COVID. Something that popped into my mind was when it first happened, and then it was almost like there was a realization that, oh,
this is happening.
We're not able to connect. And I think maybe a month into it, I began to see, I'm more of an Instagrammer. And I began to see on Instagram different countries. I think it was like in Italy, and there was a courtyard of, homes, and someone came and they began to play the piano, and everyone
people would come to their window.
Yes, I thought that was, it was so beautiful that even though we couldn't physically touch and we couldn't physically be together, music and social media, this is the positive side, connected for all of us to be able to share in that moment. And I remember seeing little things like that, and it honestly would sometimes make you feel really emotional. That it was like, we're going to find a way.
What was the DJ? The DJ that did it too, that had the dance party like every night.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I see him right now.
I do too. I can't think of his name.
He would have, some hip hop going, and DJ Nice. D Nice.
That's it.
And he would, it became, I think it was Club, was it like Club
Nice?
Club COVID or something? I can't remember what it was.
Something.
But also there were so many things. I remember Versus. If you're kind of like a hip hop R&B head, like Versus was created from that, where you had different R&B and hip hop artists battle each other on social media. So it was just a time for innovation, and again, there are positive things about social media, and COVID was one of the biggest, I feel like, I don't want to say test, but it was like putting the purpose of social media to the test.
Right.
And I think
it became during that time very social, as opposed to kind of what it's morphed into now with the negativity. So it was more of fostering positivity, connection, love. All
and speaking of fostering positivity, and we've been saying this now, our podcast seems to be about hope. During that time too, we saw a great rise in efforts for social justice and cultural events. And it seems as though between the 2010s, like late 2010s and 2020s, we begin to see a rise in those movements. Right. And during COVID was the George Floyd event that became a worldwide, like not just national, a worldwide event.
Different countries
protesting. Correct. Right. Correct. And so I feel like there are areas of social media that were not tapped into or unexplored. But the one thing that I heard someone say about trailblazing is that someone had to blaze the trail. Someone had to set it for there to even be a trail. And so in this instance, social media, social justice, through social media, social connection, because of COVID, I think that it was an amazing phenomenon to be a witness to and be part of history, really.
We were. And I feel like, social media is a tool where you can reach the masses quickly with a message. So in that regard, it's positive.
That's right. And so again, we're always talking about hope. We're always talking about positivity. So this was actually part 1. We're going to come back with a conversation on part 2. So stay tuned. We're not saying bye. I am Danielle.
I am Wendy.
And we'll be back very soon.
Talk about part 2.
Part 2.
Social media and the impact it has.
See you soon.